Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we have a start collecting video for you looking at one of the box sets that are coming out alongside Broken Realms Kragnos, and that is the box set for the Hedonites of Slaanesh, the Exquisite Pursuit. So let's start off the video by looking at exactly what we get inside this box set for our Hedonites of Slaanesh. For starters, this box set is primarily focused on the demon side of the Slaanesh army. So that is what we'll be doing in the video. We'll be looking to build a Slaanesh demon army. There are many different ways you can build Slaanesh armies, and they do have a mortal range alongside the demons, but for this video we're going to focus on a demon heavy army because that's what the box set I feel is leading us towards. So for starters, the hero we get inside the box set is the Contorted Epitome. The Contorted Epitome is a pretty decent hero, 7 wounds, 12-inch move and a 5-up save with Bravery 10, which is pretty standard for all demons. You'll find all demons are pretty much Bravery 10 as standard. Now, the Contorted Epitome can reroll casting rolls or just flat out. That is really cool. She's a level 2 wizard, meaning she casts and dispels at 2. So this combined with rerolls is making for a pretty decent wizard. You can also roll a dice each time you allocate a mortal wound to the model, and on a 2+ it's negated, giving her a really good defense via mortal wounds. So your opponents generally have to gonna do normal sort of damage to her, which she can be a little bit frail to with only a 5-up save, but that it's a nice bit of protection. It protects her from magic, it protects her from some of the nasty mortal wound shooting output that's out there as well, but she probably is going to suffer against things like Caradron Overlords who just have high rend and are going to remove her armor. That's where her weakness lies. So those sort of things you're going to have to plan to counteract. You then got the Horrible Fascination rule, which at the start of the combat phase you can roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of this model, and on a 4+, that model cannot be picked as the target of attacks made by that unit in the phase until this model makes attacks in that phase. So it's not an always strikes last, but it's a always strike after I do rule. She then has a War Scroll spell, which is Overwhelming Acquiescence. Casting value is 7, which is pretty high, but with rerolls, you know, you've got a pretty good chance of getting that. It's a 50-50 sort of chance to cast it initially. Rerolls, you're going to get yourself up to, you know, that 75% sort of bracket there for a cast. If successfully cast, pick D3 enemy units within 24 inch that are visible to them, and you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attack that target those units. So really cool. It's putting the buff, well, the debuff on your opponent's unit, allowing you to reroll against your opponent's unit, which is really nice. Spells like that are always really good in my books. We then start looking at the other models inside the box set, and we start with the Seekers of Slaanesh. These are the mounted Daemonette Cavalry. So Seekers of Slaanesh, 2 wounds as you might sort of figure, 5+ save and Bravery 10 as we're talking about, standard for demons. However, we do have a move of 14, which is really, really nice. 14 is some really good move, though of course we lack the fly, so that can be a little bit of a hindrance, but 14 movement can help overcome that to somewhat. They're nothing too powerful in combat, though they have some cool rules like Quicksilver Speed, where you can roll 2d6 instead of d6 when you make a run roll for this unit, and they can run and still charge. This means they can really get into those squishy things. Your opponent's going to have to do a lot of screening to stop you getting into those things juicy in the backline. So that's something. They can tie up units really well. And if any enemy models were slain by wounds inflicted by this unit's attacks in close combat, you add 1 to the attack characteristics of the unit's melee weapons in the following combat phase. So if they get stuck into like a chaff or a shooting unit in the backfield, if you can get a double turn with these, they can probably wipe out most equal sort of sized units. By that I mean wound characteristics. You know, a 10-man shooter unit with a 5-up save is probably dead if these get a double turn charge on them, which is nice. Fiends are the last unit inside the box set that we're going to get, and they're a multi-wound unit. They've got 4 wounds apiece, 5-up save, move 12, which is really nice, and of course, generic demon, Bravery 10. So they've actually got a decent amount of damage output. They've got 4 attacks, 3 threes, run 1, damage 1 on their deadly pincers, and then they've got their barbed stingers. So we can see below the sort of rules that we've got for them. So if a modified wound roll for an attack with deadly pincers is a 6, the weapon has a damage characteristic of D3, so this is nice, just upping that damage straight away. And then deadly venom as well. If the target of an attack made with a barbed stinger has a wounds characteristic of 1, that weapon has a damage characteristic of 1 for the attack. If the target of the attack made with the barbed stinger has a wounds characteristic of 2 or 3, it has D3, and if they have 4 or more, it has D6 damage. So it gets more damage hitting the bigger things, so they can be a really good sort of monster killing unit. You also subtract 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards within 12 inches of them, and you subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target this unit as well. So this can help keep them alive and really sort of pin down some monsters, because a lot of your bigger monsters generally don't have that greater hit rolls on the monsters themselves. Generally the riders have a little bit better, but the monsters generally aren't that good, or most of the time, so it could be pretty cool. And also, in addition, while this unit has 4 or more models, subtract 1 from the wound rolls as well. So a large unit of Fiends is definitely something to look at. But that's everything in the box set we've looked at now, so let's go see how we can put all of this and where we can expand it as well. So, where do we go to expand our little Slaaneshi force from the contents of the original box set? Well, for starters, this box set doesn't actually contain any battle line options, so that is definitely the first place we're going to look to expand upon. Daemonettes are our generic battle line demon, so grabbing a couple of boxes of Daemonettes would be a great way to add to your Slaaneshi Daemon force and just keep on having all the different pieces for it. So, with that said, let's take a little look at Daemonettes. Daemonettes are pretty standard sort of troops. 5 up save, 1 wound, they've got a 6-inch move which is nice, and obviously the generic demon, bravery 10 again. 2 attacks each, 4s and 4s, rend 1, damage 1. The rend is nice and actually quite a common thing of getting like a decent amount of rend. Even just rend 1, quite a lot across the board in Slaanesh is very common. We've also got run and charge, which is really nice as well. So this gives, the Daemonettes a little bit of a threat range, the ability to go grab objectives and sort of wander around your backfield as well, while your other more damage dealing units go out and do the actual damage. Your Slaanesh Daemonettes, they can run, they can take objectives, they can come follow up behind your faster, more powerful units and just cap and do all that sort of work for you, making sure you've got the numbers there that you're requiring to have to really take control of the board and win games. A Keeper of Secrets, well, why not? This is the Greater Daemon of Slaanesh, and it's a really cool piece. It's got some fantastic little abilities that you can use here, the Keeper of Secrets, that really give you just a little bit extra with your Slaanesh Daemons. For starters, you've got the ability to double pile in, which you can use on any model but itself, so sometimes people like to run double Keepers 2 next to each other, so they both, make each other double pile in, but it's also really cool to use this with some of your other more powerful units. For me, Keepers are cool, they're just maybe a little bit flimsy. They've got a 4 up save and 14 wounds, and what's really cool is you've got the ability to get off your Locus of Slaanesh that little bit better with your Keepers. And what the Locus does is it actually stops your opponent piling in. So I find actually things like Keepers that have a smaller frontage than, say, a large block of Daemonettes or something like that are really cool for using the Locus on, because they can stop your opponent piling in. You can learn to like pin and sort of tag the end of your opponent's units, hopefully stopping them piling in and attacking with your full might while not allowing your opponent to come to bears on you. And this is something you can use in tandem with a lot of the other things in this army, like Slaanesh Chariots. Our next look at the thing. Slaanesh Chariots come in a variety of forms, and it's worth mentioning that actually sometimes in some of the builds of the chariots you actually need 2 of the generic Slaanesh Chariot to build them, and this is of course the more exalted chariots. So you've got a bunch of different options you can do with chariots. What's cool about them, they do mortal wounds on the charge to all things around them. And generally, it's all pretty much the same. It's at the start of the combat phase, you roll the dice. And on a varying roll, you do a bunch of mortal wounds. And in addition, you can potentially also add attacks characteristics to the model's melee weapons as well on particular rolls for different chariots. They've got a bunch of different roles they can play. But in general, they're all really nice to have sort of smash in, go do some damage, and a nice small frontage to hopefully combine with some of your Locus of Diversion to get you some more buffs off. Lastly, I want to talk about the Infernal Enrapturess. I think she's a really interesting hero for Slaanesh because she actually got some shooting output that's not too bad. So she can use 2 different profiles. She's either got a 24-inch range, 1 shot, 2 to hit, 3 to wound, rend 3, damage D, 3 shot, or she's got 6 attacks, 3s and 4s, rend 1, damage 1, and an 18-inch range. This little bit of extra damage can be really important because it can help free up some of your units that might otherwise get bogged down in combat. Generally with Slaanesh, you're not wanting to get stuck into protracted long combats. You're wanting to sort of go in, smash, finish, or be able to retreat and charge, run away, not stay in one place too long, or you're going to get bogged down and you're eventually just going to get whittled down because you don't have that staying power in this army in general. She's pretty cool though. She's also got the Discordant Disruption rule, which is nice, so she can reroll successful casting rolls for enemy wizards within 24 inch of her. In addition, if the reroll casting rolls are doubled, then she makes the enemy wizard take D3 mortals, and she can attempt to dispel one spell or endless spell as if she were a wizard, which is nice. So she's got a little bit of utility, and that's why I like her. She's a really nice sort of like utility piece to have there for your Slaaneshi force. now that we've talked a little bit about all these pieces we can add, we're going to look at a little sample army list of Slaaneshi daemons that we can use to sort of start off our force here. And so here's a little sample Slaaneshi force we've put together. For starters, we're going to go with Godseekers. I think in the whole idea of what this army's supposed to be in the box set and everything that's happening in Broken Realms Kragnos, Godseekers to me just seems like the one we're going to want to build around. It just fits thematically in my mind. Also, I think it's pretty cool. So for starters, we're going to have a Bladebringer Herald of Slaanesh on Seeker Chariot. So they're going to be our general, and they're going to have the Speed Chaser command trait. Speed Chaser allows us to retreat and still charge later in the turn. This is really good. It's going to allow us to just keep doing the mortal wound impact and just get more out of the chariot. They're going to have the Enrapturing Circlet, so enemy units within 3 inches of the bearer cannot retreat. So this stops our opponent retreating out of combat with us. And in addition, at the start of your hero phase, you can roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of the bearer and do some more mortal wounds. So it's just a little bit extra mortal wound ability there from the Enrapturing Circlet. Our Contorted Epitome is going to have Born of Damnation, which is a nice little heal. This is just going to help keep some of our units alive because we do have a few multi-wound units, most particularly that Bladebringer Chariot. For Battle Line, we've got 2 units of 10 Daemonettes. They're just going to be bodies on the board. They're going to go around, get objectives, and do that sort of work for us on the table. And then our other units, we're going to have the 3 Fiends of Slaanesh and the Seekers of Slaanesh, the 5, so the models we're getting inside the initial box set, and these are going to be sort of the things that are going to pair up with our Bladebringer Herald of Slaanesh on Seeker Chariot. So they're going to be the ones moving around the battlefield. They've both got really good movement. They can sort of just go around, do all the things they need to do, and just work their way through what our opponent's going to do. So there's some really cool pieces in here. I think really it's just going to be the Daemonettes following around, and then the other using as sort of like a mobile sort of force that's going to go around, do the damage, and the Daemonettes are just going to be on the board, gathering up the objectives and the points and the table space to win us the game. What's cool about this list though is it's got quite a few different units. This is going to help for our summoning points for the army. I do think in like smaller games, lots of different small units of Slaanesh is really cool. It's going to allow us to have all these different things activate and get us more depravity points as the game goes on, hopefully getting out some more powerful demons to come help. But what do you think of Slaanesh? I'd love to hear all your thoughts on the Slaanesh army and the Slaanesh daemons in particular. How are you going with them? What have you been running? Let us know in the comments below and help out anyone new getting into the faction with this box set. Well, thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to go like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the description of the video to our Discord server. And while you're at it on YouTube, why not go check out my featured channel section where there's a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators putting out a bunch of fantastic content from everything battle reports, painting videos, lore videos, tactical videos, and more besides that as well. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel on Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to our Patreons Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Alder and Shop First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Argu, and Anthony B. And thank you to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, The Real Zeop, and Chris Wallace. Thank you all for helping support the channel like you do. It means the absolute world to us. And if you'd like to help support the channel like they do, you can do so by following the link in the description to either Patreon or YouTube members. Once again, everyone, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.